Hello and welcome to the Bravo Outsider Podcast. I'm your host, Craig Midwinter. And this week, joining me, as always, is my co-host, Dylan Ferguson. Dylan, how's it going?
Oh, doing pretty good. Another wet, sopping, drizzly day here in Quebec, which is making everybody happy because it's killing the wildfires.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Except for the wildfires, they're really pissed off right now.
Yes, I've just been seeing like all over social media people bitching in New York, mostly about how bad the air is.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. We had that like 4 days ago, and they're obsessed with it. It's every time I see somebody posting that, like, oh, the air I breathe is damaging to my health. It's like, wow, rent free. You're obsessed with us. Get over yourselves, Jesus Christ.
So this week, our outsider that we had booked, unfortunately, was unable to make it. But
it's far outside.
We've got so much to cover this week. So let's just dive right into it. Dylan, what episode was the most compelling to you? Where do you want to start?
Oh man, that's hard to say. I think I gotta say the one that entertained me the most was probably the New Jersey reunion. This was a bunch of fun. In contrast to the Vanderpump reunion, which we just talked about yesterday, wrapping up our special episodes on the Vanderpump reunions, which was like a really interesting episode, but like I mentioned, I thought was like very stressful and harsh because of how how extremely cruel it could be at times. And don't get me wrong, the Jersey reunion has enough cruelty. There's definitely a lot of meanness there, and a lot of people trying to hurt each other. It's just like a lot funnier to me. Like, this was a funny, wild reunion episode. It was like an old school, like, gloves off, just like yapping at each other kind of episode, and there was a lot going on. I thought it was pretty fun.
Yeah, I think the big contrast between the Jersey reunion and Vanderpump Rules reunion is, you know, on Jersey, everyone had kind of like an equal footing. Like, no one had this like moral high ground that they were able to like sit atop of and, you know, punch down from. So it made for a lot more of a fun sparring match to watch.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a sparring match. Was definitely expecting after round one, where I think I said that I thought like actually Melissa kind of came up on top in round one, because I thought she was kind of like sticking to her story like confidently and clearly, and landed some blows that way. I totally expected round two to start off with Teresa, after having, you know, sat in her corner for a minute, spit out a couple teeth, to get back up and Melissa to absorb some damage. I didn't expect Melissa to immediately whiff an attempted knockout punch so badly that she like spins around, flips over the ropes, and smashes through the broadcaster's table. I'm referring to her decision to read out loud that text message that's just like a bunch of petty insults against Teresa that has nothing to do with anything, but it's just like mean insults. And it was just such a bad look for her. And it was just such like an own goal. She didn't have to do that. It didn't like bolster her position at all. And Melissa's path to winning here, which I think she was playing that script well in part one, is to seem as like calm and reasonable as possible, so that Teresa looks like the unhinged, vindictive, conspiratorial one. And she just surrendered so much of that potential high ground by stooping to just reading out a bunch of insults. And when even Dolores is sitting there and saying like, "You're going down" or something for this,
sleep with one eye open.
Sleep with one eye open, right? That was oh man. You know, when you live in New Jersey and people are saying that, that's like
that's worse than being called a rat.
yeah. I mean, it sounds like literal threats. She brought that on herself, man. She didn't have to do that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I feel like she was maybe trying, you know, there's kind of this trope of having housewives like bring out receipts and having like being able to make a moment by bringing out receipts. And that seemed like what she was going for. And yeah, it fell so flat and gave us a really great moment where, like you said, Dolores was like, yeah, sleep with one eye open. This is a bad look for you.
Yeah. Yeah, because it wasn't like she wasn't giving receipts in the sense she was just being like, "Oh, this contradicts your version of events." No, it's just like, "Here's some mean things somebody else said."
Yeah.
Like that doesn't. This isn't helping you.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought that, in the battle of Teresa versus Melissa, this was a bit more even footing because, like you, I thought that Melissa kind of came out on top in round one. And I feel like if it weren't for this moment kind of falling as flat as it did, I would say that Melissa still looked like she was coming out on top. But yeah, this really was not a great look.
Yeah. But otherwise, their squabbling was just like really hilarious to me, and I loved the way that they have of arguing, where they'll just like pick up on a word that somebody says and just keep tossing it back and forth, like they're
Yeah.
playing a game of tennis with it, even if what they're saying makes no fucking sense at all.
You're
Like
weak.
yeah, weak, or like Namaste, your asshole and stuff. It's
Yeah.
like, I'd like to namaste my asshole. Yeah, you would namaste your asshole. If I had a namaste, I'd stick it right up my ass. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? It's such an insane way to converse or to conversate. Which, again, by the way, is a word. I'm glad that we finally get some resolution on that. You pointing out the conversate is a word. And I like Marge's reaction where she's like, "Yeah, but it's in the dictionary. They put it in after. They put it in after what, Margaret? After people started using it? That's how a dictionary works. That's what it does." Of course, Margaret's a prescriptivist.
But also, like, if she is kind of putting out there that Danielle is responsible for getting this word in the dictionary, like, why would she be ashamed of that?
Yeah, I'm not sure that's what she was implying, but if she was, that'd be hilarious because yeah, that'd be amazing. That would be like if the citation was like the coinage was like a Danielle coinage. That's the origin. That's cited in the Oxford English Dictionary.
What other highlights did you have from this?
Yeah, mostly this sniping back and forth and repeating words. It was so good. Oh, I did like the little bit where Jen Aiden, I'm going to say reveals because she didn't deny it, that Rachel, despite pretending that she never really watched the show, used to operate a social media account with the handle Bravo Lover 1234. It's just, that was just funny to me.
Yeah, and then later when Andy's doing the questions from Twitter, she gets a real softball like layup question from an account Bravo Baby 123, which is strikingly
Totally
similar to her fake account.
Absolutely her. We've got to figure out how many of these like random Bravo bunch of numbers accounts are just Rachel Fuda.
Have you heard that like dead internet theory where the bulk of the conversation and things that are on the internet are from bots and dead people?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I think we need to augment this theory and say that a portion of that is from housewife bots and finstas.
Bots, dead people, and Rachel Fuda. That's where most of the content is coming from the Bravo sphere. Every time somebody puts like a negative comment on one of her posts now, I'm going to reply like, "Okay, Rachel Fuda, we know it's you."
Yeah.
Jen was doing good too. Jen was really entertaining to me. Jennifer Aiden with going after calling Margaret a pot puss woman and and old, not in a numerical sense, but old in a more meaningful sense somehow.
Yeah.
And then Margaret accuses Jen of like hijacking the whole season with this info like plot line about the bit of information that she was disseminating, even though apparently everybody knew it except for Danielle, it turns out. And like, yeah, she fucking did. That's like good housecraft.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah, she played the game. She played you. Like she hijacked the season. That's a show of good strategy.
Yeah. But still it's Teresa's fault, by the way.
Oh yeah, still Teresa's fault. Yeah. And also when Jen like really defends Bill and like gives this like whole lengthy explanation of like why Bill spends so much time in the pool room, and he's like, he explained to me like how all day at work he's talking so much, when he gets home he just feels like this, and she goes on and on explaining like this whole like really reasonable explanation that Bill allegedly gave her. And it's like she just put more words in Bill's mouth than have come out of Bill's mouth like all year long. Like there's no way he said like 5% of that.
Yeah.
Every time Bill's on camera, he's like, yeah, I don't know. Okay. And then Jen's like, oh, yeah, he explained it to me really well. Let me recite the eloquent paragraph. Like, just sure
Yeah.
thing, Jen. That's basically about highlights. That plus, the hints about Dark Louie's emergence, which are just going to make it better. And the way he's walking around, pacing, shirtless, grinning like the Joker, eating hot Cheetos backstage is
Yeah, his
so
entrance was
promising.
insane. So we
Yeah.
got a clip of him like just even coming up in the car. He's got his head like hanging out the window like a dog.
Yeah,
Like
or like Heath Ledger's Joker. I'm gonna keep
yeah.
making that comparison.
Yeah.
But yeah, very dog, like tongue hanging out, drool flapping in the wind.
And I love that like directly before the commercial break, before we go backstage and see like topless Louie, we've got this dialogue about how much Teresa likes Magic Mike or Channing Damon
Channing
or whatever.
Tatum.
Yeah. It was just like, yeah, talking about Magic Mike, and then oh, here we go. Here's Magic Louie.
Yeah, he is pretty fit though. Look, he's got he's a pretty shapely torso, and also looks fucking insane and ready to go, ready to brawl. So that's gonna be
Oh
great.
yeah. I liked when Frank was warning Joe not to like get physical with Louis, because Louis would probably kick his ass more so than Joe Judice. And you know what? I feel like that would be a pretty like close matchup between Joe and Louis.
Yeah, it might come down to how much shit Louis put up his nose that day.
Yeah.
But I mean, with a bit of luck, we'll see. I don't
Yeah.
think so. They would have teased it already, but it's gonna
That's
be
why they
great.
need to come back. Everyone needs to come back next season.
No, absolutely. Everyone needs to come back, and they need to just live in a cage together for a full season.
They did that with on a season of Summer House during COVID. They did a season where everyone was quarantined in the same house together. Need something like that for Jersey for sure, where they can't escape each other.
Yeah. Just make it like that Buñuel movie where it's like you mysteriously can't leave the room, and then nobody explains why. There should be a surrealist housewives show, right? Just like the rules of reality just like slowly get broken. Yeah, that's basically my highlights for that one. But tons of fun. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun watching this as well. There was another thing that kind of struck me was this like hack that is apparently going around where
Right.
people are like texting and calling each other or spoofing housewife numbers and calling each other. I am very curious as to how that happened. Like someone out there has an address book that has all these housewife numbers, and they're using it
Yeah.
for what purpose?
Or
I
somebody
hope
sold
that
it to somebody, right? Like somebody sold that information to somebody.
yeah, the fact that they're calling each other or that they're calling, one housewife to another using a spoofed housewife number is really it seems targeted. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I whenever I get like those scammy phone calls, it's always from like a spoofed local number that I don't know, but the fact that it's an actual number for another housewife or Andy Cohen that is going back and forth, something seems like it is going on there that is specifically targeted, and I wonder if we'll see something like that play out on one of these series. Like someone's responsible for this, I feel like.
Yeah.
Someone in the Bravo universe is responsible for this.
Yeah. And I don't really blame people for blaming Louis for everything, because he does feel like he is like capable of just about anything. Like you feel like this guy's just such a wild card, just such a joker in the deck. Like it's like
Yeah.
you feel like he could be like just like a guy who just like likes to talk shit and like blow himself up, but like never does anything. Or he could be somebody who's like literally into like nefarious shit and has like underworld connections. I feel like it could go either way. Like you can't read this guy. He's like
Yeah.
so hard to figure out.
Yeah, and there's enough people that are, raising flags, being like, "Well, Louis contacted me at my job, and Louis, contacted my kids." There's enough smoke that the air quality in New York and New Jersey is.
That just happened because he took his shirt off.
Yeah. Let's move on to Real Housewives of Atlanta. I thought that this was a pretty fun episode, or at least it started really fun and ended really fun for me. Middle kind of dragged a bit. But what highlights did you have?
Well, if Louis was the Joker in New Jersey, I'm glad that we get the Riddler in this one with Munietta's outfit. Gotta have a Batman villain in each show. Strong luck though, but
yeah,
she looked like she was gonna start leaving sinister hints around Gotham. Yeah, this is pretty fun. I think Kenya was really mean to Sonia. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah,
because she didn't really do anything, Sonia, and she was like trying to be pretty conciliatory over the phone. And I think it's worth pointing out that she clearly like made an effort to be there when she was like booked with something else. I can't remember, she had some broadcasting thing or something, and she was saying how it was going to be really tight for her to like go there and then go to the other thing. She could have just not went, like Kandi just didn't win because she had another event going on, the Ebony Power 100. and she made it, like, she clearly made an effort to be there for Kenya's thing, and then for Kenya to react by being like, well, just don't come back then. It's like, well, what the hell did she do? She was actually trying to be supportive. She wasn't the one fucking trying to kick your door down.
Yeah.
I don't think. I'm pretty sure that was all Marlo with a bit of help from Cherie too.
Yeah. Cherie, who like was adamant that it wasn't her. The knocking was not done by her.
Yeah. She didn't kick, she insists. And then of course we got the receipts of her kicking. It just like, I don't know if I've said it before, but really got to give a huge shout out to the editors of the Atlanta series. I feel like they have more fun than the editors on any other series. Like they do so much fun shit in the edit. And my favorite little moment, I think, in this one was just when they do like when they do Kenya's introduction, like the little green screen animation thing, and instead of having the music, they just like play her coughing over it. It just appears on screen with her smiling and her arms crossed, and the audio is just really made me laugh. Also, Candy's place is fucking wild, man. What a weird place she has.
Yeah, it's crazy.
She's got like a Smile-It-On skull with like gold teeth. There's like splatter paintings with like these fucking Versailles frames, like insanely ornate frames for like minimalist modern art. It's and pink everywhere. Have you ever seen photos of the Addams Family set? Like, I mean, the original Addams Family show, the black and white show. You ever seen photos of the set?
Oh yeah, in color. The
ones
that are in color. Yeah,
because in color it was like a full of pink. It's like a bunch of like weird, gruesome artifacts, but it's all pink, and it's great. It looks amazing. That's literally what Kandi lives in. She lives in the Addams Family set.
We're gonna have to try to edit some clips together and see how it looks when it is done in black and white.
Yeah, but I feel like this episode was a long time ago, though. Things move fast. I don't know. What were your highlights of this one?
Yeah, I think this opening scene or sequence that takes place outside the hotel room and in the lobby was a lot of fun for me. I really liked the back and forth between Marlo and Munyata, both on location and in the confessionals. I thought there were lots of great lines.
Yeah.
I particularly like the only person I let slam doors on me is Jesus.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I don't know what that means, but like, but I like it.
Yeah, it's great.
Again, the editors had a lot of fun with Marlo's confessional where she says, that bitch opened the door like looking like a damn demon, and then we get that clip with the glowing eyes. Very good. Marlo being like, "Oh, Manetta kisses more ass than Kenya eats" was really good.
Yeah.
Another one she had was Kenya's trying to go from Keonce to Kiana.
Yeah.
So really, really great confessionals and dialogue that happened in that scene. I enjoyed it a lot. One particularly notable scene was the scene between Mama Joyce and Kandi, where Kandi kind of confronts her mom about the the comments that she continuously makes about Todd at BravoCon. I thought Kandi did just a great job of defending Todd and their relationship against their mother, and I don't know. I just thought that was a really like a real moment and kind of captured a lot of authenticity and really was an encapsulation of Candy's character that I just really appreciated it.
Yeah, yeah, she handled it well. She didn't step back, but didn't like turn it into a fight either.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely handled it well. And you know what? That like clinic that I went to at the end, was I the only one who found that really fucking creepy? Like,
yeah, no, I was yeah, that's another highlight that I've got written down. I love when housewives do like like weird shit that you don't even know exists in the
yeah,
world.
like
They
pseudo
like
medical treatments.
yeah, go to a strip mall and get an IV.
Yeah, and a place that looks like it's been open for 1 week. And it's probably going to be closed in 1 week. Just
Yeah.
just, like bare walls, literally IV bags just hanging from the ceiling, with like these like new like recliner chairs in a row. Just no like markings anywhere.
Yeah, very like thrown together and temporary. We had in Winnipeg here a magic mushroom dispensary open up, and it was open for about a week before it got shut down. And that's what I imagine the vibe would have been like, very like put together and temporary. We're gonna have to like piece out of here soon as we run out of IV bags that have fallen off the back of a truck.
As soon as the health authorities get at our trail, that's when they're gonna
Yeah.
that's when they're gonna run out of there. Yeah,
uh,
that was like a horror movie set. That was some weird, creepy shit. It was kind of like a liminal clinic doing who knows what.
yeah.
Just clear IV bags hanging from the ceiling, man. While they're talking too, just such a weird set to be talking at. The clear cords are just dangling in front of their faces while they're discussing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to next week, and I really liked how they cut together the build up for next week's episode, contrasting this conversation that they have like about like being forgiving and peaceful, and it's intercut with this massive blow up that's coming 3 days from now. I thought that was really good. It
Yeah.
looks like it's going to be set at a place that is very like visually interesting to look at. It I saw like black light, and I tried to Google what this place was, and it sounds like the activity that they're going to do involves like it's kind of like an
Laser
escape
tag.
room.
Oh.
No, but more fun probably. It seems like an escape room, which doesn't sound like it's more fun than laser tag. But the gimmick is you're trying to beat the clock, trying to like solve this combination in time. But if you don't, it's a giant like paintball explosion that blows up.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So that's something that I'm very much looking forward to seeing go down, hopefully.
Yeah. How
Um
anticlimactic would it be if they got it and then there was no paint explosion?
yeah.
That'd be really
Yeah.
disappointing.
Yeah, they need to throw some red herrings in there for the housewives
Yeah.
specifically.
I hope they
I think
rigged
that
it.
there are some cities that probably would not be able to get it, but I feel like Atlanta would be able to get it. Like there's some really smart housewives on this
Yeah.
roster. So
Yeah, I think the average intelligence is a little higher on Atlanta than it is on some of these shows,
I mean, we've
including
got a
probably the next one we're going to talk about.
yeah. Well, we've got like a brilliant scientific mind like Cherie, as we saw her brilliant scientific test of the door slamming on itself.
Right. Scientific theory in action. Also, Cherie just tried to steal her gynecologist joke, by the way. Remember, she was like, "Oh, turns out I'm pregnant." No, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, you just got the idea from your
Yeah.
gynecologist who made that joke, but like did it like much better than you did. Did you think they weren't
Yeah.
going to include that in the edit? That's why you thought you could get away with stealing it? No, of course they're going to include her original joke.
It landed. It landed with Kenya. Like she loved it.
Sure, yeah, Kenya's an easy audience though. Kenya cracks herself up by like
Yeah.
just by saying hello. Like she's quick to laugh.
The other thing that I feel like we need to talk about during this episode is Kenya's medical emergency. Whatever that that was, I found that really entertaining. I love it when a housewife just dramatically has some sort of like medical emergency that is clearly not serious, but they need to like get the local ambulance out, and Marlo leads a prayer circle.
Yeah, well, I
Then
mean, thoughts and prayers for her in this
yeah.
difficult time. Housewives, I think, have the same like physical constitution as like the heroines of Victorian English novels. If something gets a little too shocking or stressful, they're liable to just collapse, and you have to call the local country doctor over, and then you need to take the vapors and get sent to like the south of France or something to recuperate. It's they're very delicate beings, Victorian heroines and housewives. They just a little too much emotional stress, and it's a medical emergency.
Yeah. I think it like kind of spoke to how big of a deal Kenya actually thought this was, and like a real contrast towards how big of a deal the rest of the cast thought this was, that she got herself so worked up about doing this halftime show that she ended
Yeah.
up having a panic attack and not being able to do it.
Yeah, and you know what? I kind of get it. Like, I don't want to be too harsh to her, because you know what? She's clearly been thinking about this for a long time. She's like really been like looking forward to this a lot. It's like it means a lot to her, and she wants to have like the whole crew down with her, and the crew's like turning against her. Like, I get why she's like fucking stressed out right now. Like, that kind of makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah. You don't have to waste EMT's time for that, but I get why she's stressed out.
But then Marlo sends, like, she's like, oh, I called the hospital to send flowers, which obviously she was informed by producer that Kenya had like checked out, and she's like, yeah, she checked out already. She's not there. So
Yeah.
it obviously was not too serious. It seemed like just an excuse to peace out.
No, it was just housewifeitis. Just
that's what all I've got for Real Housewives of Atlanta. Did you have anything else?
no, that's about it. I think we might have a little bit more to chew on next episode.
Yeah. Okay, well, Real Housewives of Orange County premiered this week, and it's the return of Tamra, which is something I was very excited about because, I mean, I think everyone has an opinion on Tamra, and whether you love her or hate her, I feel like it's undeniable that she is one of the best to ever play the game. And at the very least, she was like a game changing housewife because she really defined what it meant to be a housewife. So seeing her come back is just a breath of fresh air. Before we get into it, something that we want to start doing is when a new series or a new season premieres, we're going to go through the taglines and just rank them. I've seen these all. The feeds that we watched didn't have these in the episode, so these are going to be a surprise to you, Dylan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to read them out, and then I want you to guess whose tagline it is, and let me know what your thoughts are.
Okay, this might be a little tough for me because I actually don't really know OC well. I don't know most of these women.
Okay,
but I can guess based on what I've seen so far.
I think these will probably be relatively easy to guess, but yeah. So
I'm going to be doing a power rankings at the same time. I'm going to power rank these.
Okay, this is a bit of a gimme. I might have been on pause, but now I'm ready to play.
Oh, well, that's going to be Tamara because she was away for a few seasons, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess you've got a bit of a image there of like a VCR or something, but that's not very evocative to me. I'm giving that like a B-.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree. I
And I
think
think
that
that
this
I
is
think that's generous. I could easily do C plus, but I'm going to say B minus because I guess there's a bit of imagery going on, but you have to squint for it.
okay. Speaking of imagery, I live my life in HD, sharp, bright, and more focused than ever.
That's not bad. Who would that be? Heather?
Yeah,
It is?
Heather
All
DeBrow.
right.
Yeah, so that's what the HD is for. I'm assuming Heather
Oh, I didn't even
DeBrow.
think of
Yeah,
that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That makes it better now that I'm thinking of it that way. Like, let's give,
yeah.
you know what? I'm going A. Just
Okay.
straight up A. That's a good one. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. In Orange County, I always call the shots, and it's always tequila.
Hmm. Who is the biggest drunk on the show? Is it Shannon? Maybe.
It's Shannon. You got it.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm killing these. Um,
Yeah.
that's not a bad one. It's kind of an obvious play on words a little bit, but it's kind of funny. I'll give that an A minus.
Yeah, it's no if life gives you lemons, put nine in a bowl. That's for sure. That's one of my favorite all time taglines from Shannon.
Oh yeah, that's she will have to write the taglines if we get our surrealist housewife show off the ground because that's so surreal.
Well, how about this one? If you're going to waste my time, at least hand me a taco.
Is there a pun I'm missing? I can't see a pun in there. So first of all, A plus.
Yeah.
um, I who Gina.
No.
Ah, okay, well, Emily then.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, is she referencing something from another season with the taco
Not
thing?
as far as I know.
Not
No,
as far as you could tell. Okay, that makes it
yeah.
better. Perfect. Love it.
The only difference between my past and present, well, that's just apples and oranges.
Wait, that's how it's phrased?
Yep.
Because the two clauses don't really match, do they? Right? Like
The
it should.
only difference between my past and present, well, that's just apples and oranges.
Yeah, that doesn't. It's like not even a well constructed sentence. Like,
We haven't heard the read on it yet because it hasn't aired, I don't think, but that's what was released.
is that going to be Gina?
Yeah.
Okay, that is because I mean it should be like comparing my past to my present is apples and oranges, right? Like it for it to like hang together better.
Yeah.
Because it's like you didn't tell me what the only difference is. You just like switched to a different a different tense. Like it's uh and that's also really weird. So yeah, that's A plus
Yeah.
too. That's an A plus. That's great.
That's a brain breaker, yeah.
It is. It's so weird. It's hard to like like get that twisted up over like 8 words or whatever. So if you could like do something like really baffling in such a short amount of words, you're doing great. You're killing it. That's a good one.
Okay, and finally we've got the rookie Jennifer with my core may be strong, but my resilience is stronger.
That's kind of weak, actually.
Yeah, I think that this is a very weak
that's
one.
I'll give it a C plus.
All right.
The lowest.
Any jostling within the ranking now that you've heard them all?
So I've got 2 A pluses. So otherwise the ranking is set, but I guess I got to decide which one I like better. I think Gina's is better. It's got the extra weird factor. That's what I'm really looking for. So I give Gina an A plus plus to give her the first spot. Emily's taco shit was second. Heather's like HD TV reference is in third. Then we've got Shannon's. What was Shannon's again?
In Orange County, I always
call
call
the shots, and it's
always
tequila.
tequila. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So then we've got that. And then at the back of the pack, Tamara's okay one and Jen's weak one. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a fair ranking. I think I like Emily's more just the it's a bit more visual to me. Like there's action to the act of handing me a taco. Like
sure,
I like that a lot. Yeah. It's a bit more kinetic.
Sure. There's motion lines in the frame. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on the premiere of Real Housewives of Orange County?
Yeah, pretty interesting. Like I say, this is not a series I know very well, so I'm happy to get into it more. Since it's a series I don't watch too much, I'm immediately like interested by the setting. I really like
Oh
getting
yeah,
into a new setting when we're starting a new show. And what's really fascinating about this setting to me is, for one thing, it looks like shit where they are. Like it looks like just like a bunch of like strip malls and McMansions. Like when
yeah,
they do when they edit together their little montages between scenes, it looks lame as hell.
yeah,
Uh, and but I like the kind of contrast all throughout it, or not necessarily even a contrast, but the fusion of like pretty like lowbrow middle class, like suburban Americana with like these kind of hollow references to great wealth, like these gigantic homes and in which people are like unwrapping frozen pizzas, uh,
yeah,
and like going through drive-throughs, and just the way that like all of these like just shared cultural references seem to be like just like very middle class Americana stuff. I'm not saying that like totally judgingly, like,
yeah,
but it's like, um the kind of reference of extreme wealth are just kind of like the size of the rooms they're in and the obvious expense of the spaces they're in, whereas like everything they seem to be like eating and drinking is like the same thing that like suburban moms do all over the country, and car based suburbs and the outskirts of Tucson or whatever. And it's just that's like really entertaining to me. Like the best example of that to me is when they're in Heather's place, and Gina comes over and she's like, oh, she had to go through three gates to get here,
yeah,
and this like weird like sterile palatial McMansion that she lives in. And then she's like, I'm sending my assistant out to get a Starbucks order. Like, what do you want from
yeah,
Starbucks? Like, why don't you just have an espresso machine in your house? Like, why aren't
yeah.
you just making coffee at home? Like, I don't get that. Like, it's like, don't tell me you don't want to make the coffee, because there's the assistant. Like, it would
Yeah.
be much easier for your assistant to make you like a good coffee with an espresso machine, rather than to send her out through the three gates and drive to Starbucks and then come back through the three gates again. Like, why are you getting Starbucks at all? Like, you've got an infinity pool on your roof with like what looks like a $3,000 pizza oven installed there. Like, why are you sending somebody out for Starbucks? Why do you need
Yeah.
that? Like, it's just the way that they like seem to like not be able to let go of these like kind of Americana little bits of life, these little habits, is
Yeah.
really interesting to me.
Yeah, it does in a lot of cases come across as like cosplaying as ultra wealthy. They're clearly affluent, but not, ultra wealthy like you see on other series like Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. And I feel like Heather is probably she comes across as the most wealthiest in actuality versus any of the others. But she's still not like in the same strata as someone like Lisa Vanderpump or like Erica Jane Girardi was when she was ripping off, or when Girardi was ripping off all these victims. It's on a different level.
Yeah, I think somebody like Lisa Vanderpump living in Beverly Hills, it would be kind of surrounded by a world where you're expected to have certain like reference of like what the wealthy lifestyle is supposed to be that you have to adhere to, which is silly, but that's like, that's how cultural bullshit works. Like, it's like Lisa Vanderpump wouldn't be there sipping a Starbucks coffee, because
Right.
it's like she's in this world where it's like you eat a certain way, you drink a certain way, because you're in the world of wealth. Or they're in like they're very rich, but they don't seem to have this script of what a wealthy person is supposed to live life like. So they're like, well, we're gonna have a frozen pizza and get a Starbucks. Like, they have these same habits that like all middle class Americans do. And also they go to a bowling alley and are like, do you have champagne? And they say yes. Why does this bowling alley have like Moet? Like, why? I guess that's like a very Orange County thing to me. It seems like, because like, imagine going to a bowling alley and saying you have a bottle of champagne, and they're like, yeah, sure, we've got some, of course we have champagne. They're eating chicken wings that look like they came out of a box, and they've got like a bottle of Moet on ice. Like, it's great. I just love the combination of the two things, like of wealth and like extremely unshowy everyday habits.
What other highlights did you have from this?
Well, okay, so speaking of Tamara's comeback, the intro is so
Yes.
great. Her riding the
Oh
bike
yeah.
up, the montage of her riding the bike, so good, so
The
good.
the voiceover with like talking about how much of a badass she is as she's like biking up in a leather jacket and
Yeah,
pulling the helmet off. It's amazing.
amazing. Okay, so Craig, since you know the show a lot better than I do, you said that Tamara's a game-changing housewife. Explain that for me. Why?
Well, so she came on very early in the series. So she came on like season 3 or Real Housewives of Orange County, and there wasn't really um this social game to it. Like she was the first housewife that really like strategized and like was using information as currency in the way that housewives do. Before that, the tone of the series was different. Um there was not the same sort of social strategy. It was a lot more
Yeah.
documentarian. So she is like the proto housewife as far as I'm concerned. I mean, Vicky is an OG. She was there from the beginning, and she is another one that really set the tone for what a housewife is. But that is more what the personality of a housewife is. I think that that's what Vicky really like carved out, but Tamra really shaped the game of housewives, and that ebb and flow of the dynamics between women. I feel like she was the one that carved it out, and everyone had to step up their game to match her as after her debut season.
Damn. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's high praise. It makes me want to go back and watch all the previous seasons. Well, I mean, I'm fucking glad she's back then, riding back into our hearts on that motorcycle.
Yeah, and there's some like she just I feel like she's got a really good eye for what good housewifeship should be like. That's like I don't listen to her and Teddy's podcast all the time, but whenever I do, I um it's striking how good of an eye she has for like the game and what people are playing at. So I really appreciate that element too. And there's some like scenes where you even have seen that in past seasons. Like there's one scene that comes to mind where Kelly Dodd has sent this like really abusive text message or voice message to Vicky Gunvalson, and Vicky's showing Tamara on her phone, and this abusive message is using one of those Apple like emoji faces of a pig. And so it's just this cartoon pig that's spitting all these vile insults at Vicky, and it's very funny. And Tamara
That's
like
awesome.
ends up like she's empathizing with Vicky, but also like cracking up, and she's like, okay, well that is kind of funny.
Nice. One thing I did really appreciate was when Emily talks to Tamara and when they're doing like the yoga thing or whatever, and I thought she was just like really skillful the way she talked to her, the way like a skilled horse breaker would break in a horse. And, and just being like, we both come from different backgrounds. You're gonna need to break down the bad bitch thing and get to the heart of things, just like looking her straight in the face, basically like putting a
Mm,
hand on her muzzle and being like, all right, we're good now, right? Yeah, it just seemed like very like skillful horse breaking. I was kind of
yeah.
mesmerized by the way she handled that situation. Also mesmerized by the way that she like makes small talk with somebody at a fast food drive through. through the intercom. I know that sounds like a kind, friendly thing to do, but I think that's kind of unhinged. You don't do
Yeah.
that. They're trying to be efficient. They're trying to get through the day. They don't want somebody to be like, "And how are you today? How are things going?"
Yeah.
And maybe she goes through that same drive-through every day, and it's like an old friend at this
It
point.
was, yeah, very familiar.
Yeah, in that sense, then it makes sense. I mean, if this is like her usual drive-through employee, who she sees all the time, sure. If it's a total stranger and you just like holding up the line to be like, "So, how have things been? How you hold it up?"
Yeah.
Then that's really weird behavior.
I can't even like imagine doing that while your kids are like causing a scene like beside you and in the back seat. Like
Yeah,
clearly just like really like kids getting like hyped up and just unruly and being like, "Ah, yeah, I'm gonna make small talk with the drive-through."
yeah.
What were your thoughts on the newbie Jennifer?
I feel like we didn't see that much from her yet, so I don't really, I don't know what to think yet. I think she hasn't done much yet, right? Like, what did she do that was notable this episode?
Yeah, she hasn't really done anything, but she got a surprising amount of screen time for not really doing anything. I think
Mm-hmm.
like she was introduced via Tamara at the bowling alley, and then we got some stuff at home, and then she was like hosting an event. That's a lot for a newbie on their very first episode, on the first episode of a season where you've got a returning housewife, for her to really not do anything. So I was a bit surprised and disappointed. Hopefully, she turns it around and um, we get a more interesting season from her. But I feel a little disappointed because and I know this is maybe an unpopular opinion, but I really liked the rookie housewives from last season of Orange County, and neither of them returned. Like
Hmm.
Noella was so unhinged and like just wild and unpredictable. I thought that she would be a shoo-in for another season. And I thought that Dr. Jen last season, and I know she was facing like the most criticism for being boring from the fan base, but she was like very transparent on camera about her relationship with her husband Ryan, whose actual name is Ryan, but he changed it to Ryan
Oh, you just took the A out.
informally. No, I think it was Ryne is how he spells it.
All right,
So, um,
good for him.
but yeah, I am disappointed that they're not back because I thought that they were both good additions, and it kind of felt like they were giving the fan base their way just because they weren't super likable.
Hmm.
So we'll see what Jen does this season. One thing that, speaking of last season, right before this aired, when I was watching on Slice in Canada, they were showing the season finale from last season, which, and I forgot about this, ends with a performance by the OC Reels, which is a band, a fake band that is made up of all the housewives from that season. And such an amazing performance. It is so bad and like it's amazing. You should watch it.
I
I
will. I will.
was such a great way to end a season.
Yeah, that does sound like the perfect way to end a season.
Yeah.
That instead of having just one person perform, be like, "You're all a band now. Who wants to play drums?" That sounds great. It just sounds like a class activity, you know. Just like this is
Yeah.
the end of the school year. We're all gonna put on a show. That sounds amazing.
Do you have any other highlights from this?
Um, yeah, I mean a little bit. I do want to say that when we get Gina and Heather talking on her rooftop by her infinity pool, I do think it's like I mean, I know that when Gina goes off, we get that classic like she's blathering on edit where we get the crossfades
Yeah.
between her talking and then and Heather's like, why is she avoiding the conversation? And I want to say that I think that's unfair because I think she's taking the conversation more seriously than you are because she's giving a very detailed answer. I don't think giving a very detailed and personal answer is avoiding the conversation. I think it's like
Yeah.
going in depth on the conversation. So I thought that seemed like an unfair read, and even if we don't know all of what she said because of that bitchy editing choice, but she seemed to be explaining her state of mind and stuff, and I don't think that's like avoidance. I think that's like trying to be honest. So um
Yeah, and also Gina and Heather are like the polar opposites in terms of like the wealth strata that they exist in. Like, at least the story that we see of Gina is, she is living in a tiny house and trying to like make things work for her kids, and she's a real like grinder, whereas Heather doesn't have to worry about that. So the fact that Gina's, grinding it out in the off season and going to get her real estate license is, that's seems like a valid reason to be kind of stepping back and not engaging, especially since the status of Real Housewives of Orange County was up in the air for a while. Like, she didn't know if this show was coming back, so she was out there,
mhm.
trying to make sure that she had some like a landing place, getting her real estate license, and so that her family could continue to survive in some form. It makes complete sense that she would be stepping back. And yeah, weird editing choice to do this like montage of Gina blathering on.
Yeah. I do like the little hint of class friction in their explanations of why Gina hasn't been inviting her to things. Where Heather is like, oh, like she thinks that she can only invite me to fancy things, and it's not fancy enough. Like, kind of implying like, oh, she's intimidated by my wealth, and then Gina's explanation is similar but from a different angle, where she's like, she doesn't want to go to a dive bar, she wants to be invited to a dive bar and then not go
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah. And that is actually something that's interesting that I haven't considered about Real Housewives of Orange County, is that, like you said, there is some like class friction that is there. Like, not everyone exists on the same plane of wealth, or money matters more to certain people. And that's not something that you see on a lot of franchises. Like, certainly not on Beverly Hills. Everyone is, playing with a lot of like big stacks of chips.
Yeah.
But here everyone's got different stack sizes, and
Hmm.
that does lend an interesting dynamic that I think hasn't really been explored in Real Housewives of Orange County, or at the very least, I haven't picked up on that. But that's something that I'll definitely keep a watchful eye for. The only other housewife franchise that I can think of that had a similar type of economic playing field was Real Housewives of Dallas, where there was definitely like a huge difference between people at the top end of the strata, like Cameron Westcott versus like Leanne Locken, who seemed to be living in a much more modest house.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that between Gina and Heather, because that seems interesting to me too. And it's also that the way that they explain that thing differently is a neat window into kind of the uneasy relations sometimes between like more like established rich people and people more on the periphery of richness, where it's like Heather wants the kind of cultural cachet that she can get from Gina, from her being like maybe closer to like living a cool lifestyle,
Right.
and
Yeah.
where Gina would if potentially would like want access to just more money.
Yeah.
The fact that they can kind of sense that either person kind of wants something they don't have can be kind of an uneasy alliance. and uh
Yeah.
and also like even the rich people do have that kind of nouveau riche thing, like I've been saying, where it's like they're not really living in this like stratified um really fixed world of like a rich person culture, as I reference. And I don't mean to like insult them when I say that. Like, I don't want to come off as being somebody like, oh, they're new money. They don't have
Right.
the culture that comes with it. Like, no, like that's like so lame. Like rich person culture is so lame. That's but it's interesting to me because it seems like more of like a naked wealth rather than like wealth that's become part of your culture,
Yeah.
that you have to like kind of defend and define more because you are kind of like, this is like a rich suburb, really, right? Orange County is like you're in suburbia. It's a wealthy suburbia, but you're in suburbia. You're not in like the cultural center.
Yeah.
You're on the frontiers,
Yeah.
and uh,
And
and
your
I.
wealth seems like conditional. Like it's
Mhm.
something that can go away. Like if you're not
Yeah, that's what I
actively
mean.
maintaining it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It seems like a lot of these people have recently become wealthy and could quickly become not wealthy. Like
Yeah.
so like the naked fact of there being people who are richer and people who are less rich seems like more of an actual feature. Like it's actually visible.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
definitely keep my eye on that as it goes forward.
Another interesting thing that you touched on with the relationship between Heather and Gina is like this is a transactional relationship that you see a lot of like everywhere else, and but you actually don't see this type of relationship on Housewives very frequently that I can think of, where someone is engaging in this type of exchange of, you know, culture for money, essentially, like,
Hmm.
or access to culture for access to money sort of thing. But that is something that you see in other forms of media quite a bit, and in real life as well. So to see this kind of emerge on Housewives is interesting because, like, Housewives, they all the relationships are transactional in a sense that you don't see in other places. Like, you don't see the same sort of transactional relationship for the purposes of, like, attacking someone with information or whatever. Like, you constantly see these transactions between Housewives and shifting alliances play out, but you don't really see the same type of transactional relationship that you would see in real life, or this sort of transactional relationship that you would see in real life on Housewives very frequently. So yeah,
Hmm.
that is an interesting dynamic for sure.
Yeah, totally. A lot of butt touching. Just thought I'd say that. That's it. Don't have a point to make. Just thought there's a lot of butt touching. And I do like that somebody at the yoga thing is like has the name tag that they're an intuitive healer. I just like that there's intuitive
Yeah.
healers out there. I think that's cool. I think they should expand the intuitive professional field. I want to be like an intuitive lawyer
Yeah.
or like an intuitive police officer. More people should just claim to be an intuitive professional, not
Yeah.
just healers. That sounds cool. I can see no problem with it.
There was another moment that I really liked during this, and that was right at the end where they're talking about uh, Emily and Gina are talking with Tamara about how she should talk to Shannon, and then Shannon walks up and overhears, and
That was
we hear
funny. Yeah.
like, "Oh, we broke like rule one: don't talk shit by the food."
Why is that a rule? Are you going to poison the food with your words?
No, because people come up to the food to get food, and you're going to get overheard by someone if it's not the person that you're
Oh, that's
talking
what they meant.
about.
Okay, I
Yeah,
get it. I get it. Yeah. That makes a lot more sense than I
yeah.
thought.
So even if it's not the person that you're talking about, someone who will bring it back to them, and you're going to leak information that, you know, is obviously very valuable in the housewife game. So
Yeah.
that sort of insight into, you know, the housewife rule book
Hmm.
is always interesting for me to see.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like how like animals in the jungle in Africa can't let their guards down around a watering hole.
Mm,
If a lot of people are going to be congregated around it, you gotta pay attention. These are laws of the jungle. Makes sense.
yeah.
I'm gonna take note of that. That's a good one, actually. Uh,
Yeah. Do you have any other highlights or anything you want to talk about for OC?
We about covered it, I think. A promising start. Looking forward to next episode when the sunglasses come off.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, do you want to let everyone know where they can find you?
Sure. I haven't plugged my old podcast in a while, so let's do that here. If you want to hear me talking about horror movies, because you love both Bravo shows and horror movies, we exist, representation. You can find episodes of my show Mind Over Splatter, probably wherever you're listening to this. I'm on Substack. I haven't written anything for a while, but I'll try to fix that soon.
Awesome. That's been Bravo Outsider for this week. Be sure to check out our special Vanderpump reunion coverage. We covered part 3. Big time Team Raquel over here. So you'll want to check that out. We're also going to release a VR version of that. If for some reason you want to watch and listen to a podcast in VR, check that out on YouTube. Probably the first and only Vanderpump Rules VR podcast that's been released. So we're making history, breaking new ground here.
VR, VPR, let's go.
But otherwise, you can find us on YouTube. You can listen wherever you're listening to podcasts. BravoOutsider.com, at Bravo Outsider on Instagram. Bravo Lover 1234 on Twitter. Until next week, keep on wifing.
Bye.